BlackSky just made a move that could redefine how governments and corporations see Earth from above, and no one's talking about it. And while most investors are definitely chasing some headlines, the real future is being built in silence, in orbit. If you guys ever want to see lifetime access for our daily live trading sessions every morning, then I would encourage you guys, it's going away, lifetime access. So if you want it, it's the second link down below. Simply take a look before it's gone. Now, BlackSky is this 10% surge yesterday. We started to see it push up into these levels. And we started to see it hit this resistance level and start to even break above it. Now, they're at $12 a share. A couple things to consider around the company. If we look at their market they're growing pretty quickly. They just did a launch with Rocket Lab as of this last month. And then they have this technology that's these satellites that are able to identify different threats, different conflicts, maybe even supply chain, as well as where tactical edge is, as well as foresight into changing economic conditions like the shipping and things like that in the ports. And they also have understanding and anticipating change as it happens. So maybe it's thermal imaging as well. And it's all based on their satellites that they're launching into space. So they recently launched with Rocket Lab. If you head over to Rocket Lab, we go to their launches, and we take a look at some of their recent missions. We go to their missions launched. I think it was just this last month, full stream ahead with BlackSky in June, so actually earlier this month, when they launched to increase the amount of satellites they have. There's constellation of these Gen 3 satellites that they're launching, and they just put out that mission. They also have like a press kit that you can take a look at, which I don't know if it'll show up here inside this browser, but overall BlackSky has these imaging, high def imaging. I mean, it looks like it can, so high def, it might be able to make out a facial recognition down on Earth. And so when it comes to their news, they have a lot of new developments. As far as contracts, they've been getting a considerable amount of contracts. We take a look at their news here directly on their site. So not the hype articles. There's a lot of Yahoo Finance articles, things like that. But what we're looking at here is you see that they're launching these Gen 3 satellites, and commercial satellite imagery leaders see increased international demand. So this is actually one that's verified that they posted on their sites, but is a third-party publication. But when we were able to go to the Space Symposium in Colorado Springs and see some of the technologies being developed by these companies, you could see that they have a lot of partnerships, not just with the US, but a lot of international companies. You can see that it says we're seeing a speed to adoption in international market that's accelerated like never before. That was Maxar Intelligence. And then you could look at some of the other articles where BlackSky's even mentioned. Let's see, are they mentioned here? CEO Brian O'Toole echoed strong momentum from international government customers, saying these governments want to move faster with commercial capabilities. Our partners want to more rapidly build internal capacity, either through sovereign satellites, but also in software and AI. I think that's where the opportunity is right now. Countries around the world see the need to accelerate their space-based intelligence capabilities. Commercial is a really good way to get there very quickly that leverages things that are already on orbit, plus entering into long-term partnerships that help build that capacity. The beautiful thing about this kind of excerpt from what the CEO said is that they have this focus on software and AI. So the same way that Rocket Lab, for example, one of the leading space companies, gets a lot of their momentum by having their company being end-to-end. So they're not just rocket launching, but they have the software, they have the satellite components, they have the manufacturing, they do the solar cells, their own semiconductors, all those things tie into building the value of the company. And so with space company here, this space company BlackSky, one of the things that they're focusing on in their products is intelligence. So not just that they're launching satellites, but they have this software essentially that can understand locations with recurring, so pattern recognition, enhanced situational awareness with 3D motion analysis, and they have daytime insights, area 2 to 1, larger areas, nighttime, so see activity after dark. They have stereo, build your own 3D products, and you can detect buildings, vessels, aircrafts, measure activity at the ports and airfields. And of course, you can imagine all of the data that comes in then could be used to make decisions for whatever companies they are contracted with. And that brings us into the fundamentals of their news. So when we look at some of their press releases, the press releases are direct from source. And this is where we start to see their contracts. They got quite a few contracts, a lot of Gen 3 satellite launches. So they continue to drive the adoption of that new Gen 3 satellites. But you also have their AI analytics that they share. And let's see what companies they've also partnered with here. They just won a multi-million-dollar defense innovation unit, tactical geo international expansion contract there. So that's a multi-million-dollar contract. They customer to quickly build space-based intelligence expertise with essential training on AI-powered Black Sky Spectra platform and broad area search tools. So there's another subscription-based contract. Black Sky wins. This is just February, so kind of like we're looking at potentially some increases in revenue in their next earnings if things continue to hold on their other longer-term contracts. Multi-year contracts here with India. So they're not just in the US, as we mentioned, but they're having partnerships in other countries as well. And then you look at really just a lot of announcements from a press release standpoint. 7-figure contracts are pretty normal. And then into early 2024, they won this US Space Force procurement contracts. And not always do they have the dollar amounts listed, which to me, I would like to see that transparency. It's very helpful. It's like when you are, saying we have this contract, how much is it for? So that, people that are researching can go find the contracts, the values later on, but to set a clear example of what that is for Department of Defense contracts, or in that case, US Space Force, or whatever it is, those things really do help out to see. But we see the continued contracts roll in from a lot of US space agencies, as well as the defense agencies, and also the other countries that they're working with. And so this is where we could actually go into their financials. So when it comes to the financials on Black Sky, they're still under 500 million, so $500 million market cap. The revenue's up to about 30 million, which is up 21% year over year. Their net income is still down there, but it's up year over year. So it's down 12, but it's up 18% year over year. Net profit margins are up 33% year over year. They've been beating their revenue goals and their earnings per share as well. And a lot of the articles, they say they're targeting this $1 billion market cap, which that's cool. But even from outside the hype articles, really looking at the financials of what they have, and just a quick view at their increased in revenue quarter over quarter, and then annually kind of seeing that revenue increase. You can also contrast that with the balance sheet annually, and they've been holding total assets and their liabilities fairly consistently. So that's where we look at the next steps for Black Sky as that profit margin increasing. A $1 billion market cap could make sense. Now, after their IPO, they sold off a lot. We see that sell off. But then ever since then, they've had this consolidation from left to right, even a little bit of a downtrend you could see. So now they're starting to push back up. They got up to this previous resistance, which was also a previous support. And previous support tends to act as a resistance. So they're right there at that resistance now, but they're not fully overextended. In fact, they're making this slow kind of move and pushing up into these levels. And the next target from a bullish perspective, I could imagine that I would expect Black Sky to make it into these ranges. Up into that $17 range once again, would be about a 36% increase from here. Now, is it going to happen right away? We don't really know. All we could do is enter a trade or invest in it with a plan. And if you're long term, you don't have to worry about that near term volatility. It seems like they're increasing their revenues and they're in an industry of space, which is one of the frontiers of the human race. So I wouldn't really worry about the long term as much. It looks pretty good. The short term, if we start to see this break above this $12, $13 range, I would look for a buy somewhere in here for $12 to $13 buy and looking for that swing up in that $15 to $16 range. If it's a 40% margin for profit, maybe having a stop loss there somewhere in that range of and seeing if that opportunity presents itself. Really what we're looking for is break out above that previous resistance that it's hit time and time again, and then having some validation of that previous resistance as a support, as that's oftentimes what's going to happen in a bullish market. And then that would give us clear indication that we could potentially enter a trade there for that 30 to 40% swing. So we'll be keeping a close eye on BlackSky. And we just went through the market. It's growing. The contracts look fairly good. The financials, they're looking pretty good. Not bad, but they could be better. They're definitely good for a $400 million market cap company in a world where some companies are super negative net income, but they're valued at billions of dollars. It doesn't make sense. But BlackSky, on the other hand, it's still under 400 or just around $400 million market cap, and still is putting up revenues that could justify an increase in their market cap there. And working with the top players in the space tech industry, I think puts them at an advantage for the future, just building those relationships with the Rocket Lab and what have you, US Space Force. Those are good contracts. So we'll be watching it closely and potentially trading it in the short term. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Fire your thumbs up, hit that like button. If you ever want to join us in our live sessions that we have Monday through Friday in StockMate, it's the second link in the description down below. And again, the lifetime access is going to be going away here. So if you want to get in and still have lifetime access to those sessions before they turn into subscription, then I would encourage you to simply take a look. Second link below. Thanks so much for watching. Do consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.